From the cleaning crews removing rubber from runways and de-icers ensuring planes are safe for takeoff in the winter, to the hundreds of dedicated workers that deep clean each train car for one of the busiest transit systems in the world. We took a look at 5 cleanings that happen behind the scenes in order to keep the travel industry running smoothly.
In the wintertime, one of the biggest risks airlines face is the buildup of ice on the surface of an aircraft. Ice impacts a plane's aerodynamics, and in extreme cases, can prevent a plane from creating lift. This is Chris. He's operating a specialized de-icing vehicle that's worth $500,000. Chris is a certified de-icing instructor for Delta Airlines, and he's been doing this work for 25 years. Chris and his team have one key goal when temperatures drop below 50 degrees.
We have to have all the ice and snow off the airplane before we can allow it to go out. There's no room for screw-ups.
This is a demanding job. De-icers work in freezing temperatures and extreme weather, but that's not the only challenge. They're also racing against the clock. When flight schedules are packed, Chris and his team might have less than 5 minutes to ensure an aircraft is completely free of ice and snow and is safe for takeoff.
The small airplanes we can do in 2 to 5 minutes, the wide-body airplanes 10 minutes to a half an hour, just depending on how much snow is coming down and how much was on the aircraft when it was at the gate.
If the time between de-icing and takeoff exceeds the holdover time, after which the de-icing is no longer effective, they have to start the entire process all over again.
Sometimes we have to de-ice multiple times, especially if there's a runway closure. We'll de-ice the airplane and then they have to close it for plowing. At that point, we'd have to re-de-ice the airplane all over again, and then the runway will be open, and then they can take off.
Preparations for winter begin months before the snow hits the ground. Each summer, Delta Airlines gathers its 400 senior de-icing agents from across the country for a 3-day boot camp. They arrive at Minneapolis-St. Paul International Airport between July and September to hone their skills and learn new ones. Then, the agents return to their home airports to teach others what they've learned. In addition to the practical training, Delta Airline de-icers must pass a computer simulation and courses in a classroom.
One of the reasons we want to make sure that we get all the contaminants off of the wing is so that it doesn't go through the engine fan blades. This is one of our engine fan blades that was damaged from ice coming off of a wing and fouling out an engine fan blade. It's a very real problem. That's why we are all here de-icing the airplanes.
Today, Chris is on the de-icing pad, leading a practical training on an Airbus A220. He starts with an inspection.
When we're doing our initial inspection of the aircraft for de-icing purposes, we're going to start with the radome and see if we picked up any descending icing when the aircraft was landing. As it's coming through the clouds, we want to make sure that nothing formed up there. We also want to make sure that before we do any de-icing, all the avionics bays are closed, all the cargo doors are closed, and then pay special attention to our fuel panels or the fuel cells to see if we've got any underwing frost forming. Depending on the wind, of course, if we have to shut the engines down so we can get in closer, we can do that. Obviously, safety is always going to be our number one. Okay, so we never want to spray directly into the brakes, and we never want to spray directly into the suspension of the aircraft because we don't want to wash any of that grease off. And if we do, we definitely want to notify the crew immediately. We definitely want to pay attention to our nav lights because that's where some of the rime ice is going to form. It's a good place to look for it. If we find it there, then it could be on the wing. Make sense? Yeah. Perfect. All right.
The de-icing process consists of several steps and can happen either at the gate or at a special de-icing pad. To start, pilots configure the wings by lowering the flaps and temporarily disabling the aircraft's ventilation system.
So the de-ice process is very comparable to a car wash and wax. Typically in Minneapolis, we'll start at the nose of the aircraft and then work our way back spraying the fuselage and then the wing and then the tail. We usually do at least a 2-truck operation. Sometimes if it's snowing real bad, we'll have up to 4 trucks.
The truck can lift the de-icer 30 feet into the air, where Chris uses a joystick to control the nozzle that sprays the de-icing fluid at high pressure. Each truck has large tanks that mix the liquids to reach specific chemical-to-water ratios.
You like that 2x4? $500,000 truck, and we use a 2x4 to hold these nozzles from spinning. So yeah, this is where we fill the truck with our water, our type 1, and then our type 4 anti-icing fluids filled here.
Delta uses 2 types of liquid for de-icing.
We use propylene glycol type 1 fluid for de-icing the aircraft. That's the fluid that we heat up to 180 degrees. And then we'll use Cryotech Polar Guard Extend for the type 4 anti-icing.
On an average frosty day in Minneapolis, de-icers can use up to 2,000 gallons of fluid. On a snowy day, they might need as much as 50,000 gallons.
The blend to mix ratio depends on the outside air temp. So what's actually de-icing or what's actually melting the snow or the frost is actually the heated water. The reason that we add the chemical to the heated water is so it doesn't freeze to the airplane.
The last step is the most crucial of all, making sure the airplane stays de-iced until takeoff.
The fluid lasts on the aircraft depending on the amount of frozen precip that's coming down. So if there is no precip coming down, we just have to spray it off. If it's currently snowing, then we have to use the type 4. So it's kind of like your car antifreeze. The more antifreeze you put in, the stronger the blend ratio is.
Once a de-icer signs off on the plane, the pilot will configure the flight position, taxi to the runway, and take off.
We can try and set up as much trucks and overtime and staffing for any given scenario, but you never can tell. It's Minnesota, especially when we're dealing with the weather.
When the boot camp ends, all the de-icers return to their home airports to share what they've learned and get ready for the upcoming winter. But for the team here in Minneapolis, one of the coldest cities in the United States, this is a year-round operation.
The most satisfying part of the job is the last flight of the night that takes off safely. You know, I don't mind being outside in the winter. I'm gonna be outside either way. Might as well be getting paid.
So next time you board a flight in the middle of winter and see an orange liquid sliding off the wing, you'll know that someone like Chris is out there to make sure your plane is ready to take off safely.
Every time a plane lands, each tire leaves around 1.5 pounds of rubber on the runway. Tires are stationary until touchdown, when sudden contact with the ground causes friction, quickly bringing them up to speeds of more than 150 miles per hour and producing temperatures around 500 degrees Fahrenheit. That temperature makes the tread rubber melt and bond to the runway and lights that guide pilots. The Airbus A380 is the largest passenger plane in the world, and it has 22 tires. That's over 30 pounds of rubber lost per landing, equivalent to the amount of rubber in 2 of your car's tires. So how does all of that rubber get removed, and what's so dangerous about it building up on runways?
There is 2 things you need to consider when we're talking rubber removal from the runway. There's the rubber removal from the actual tarmac itself, but the other process is to remove the rubber from the lights.
At London's Heathrow Airport, where Mohammed works, an average of 650 planes with 10 tires each touch down every single day. That's 10,000 pounds of rubber daily. A buildup in rubber can make the surface of a runway smooth, decreasing the friction needed to land. This can impact braking and control and increase the risk of hydroplaning in wet conditions. And runway lights, used to guide takeoff, landing, and taxiing, especially at night and in low visibility conditions, are dimmed by the melted rubber bonding to them. Within the United States, the Federal Aviation Administration recommends that rubber deposition be checked weekly for any airport with at least 210 daily landings. The process for checking rubber buildup isn't as simple as checking for skid marks, and it requires the use of specialized tests and instruments.
So for the runway, we have something called a friction test. It's like a machine that has a wheel, and someone will drive down the runway and that wheel will come down and it'll actually measure how much friction there is on the runway. The key to a runway is you want it to have a lot of friction. You don't want it to be slippery at all. So that measurement of how much friction that wheel feels on the surface of the runway will tell our teams when to go out there to remove the rubber. Now, to do that, we have specialized machinery, which is like a massive truck with a hoover on top of it. And so it's high pressure water, basically, but very hot. And it blasts the tarmac, and then it just sucks up everything that comes off it.
And then there's removal of rubber from the lights. Landing technology alone isn't enough for pilots to bring planes in safely.
Of course, they use ILS systems, they use the instrument landing system when coming into land, but they still need a visual reference. So from a safety perspective, the pilots physically won't be able to see those lights. And I once spoke to a pilot who was flying in from Scandinavia. And I remember I always go to the pilots to speak to them about this stuff afterwards because I want to get their perspective. And I said to him, what's it like to fly a plane at an airport and land a plane at an airport which doesn't maintain its lights very well? He said, it's like trying to fly a plane into a black hole. So for the lights themselves, we do a test where we measure how much light output comes out of the lights. So we have this trailer that hooks onto the back of a car, and the sensors on the back of this trailer will tell you exactly how much light is coming out of every single light. And then you get all that data and you can tell which lights have rubber on them. So the lights are really important and they need to be bright. So to do that, we have another machine which uses dry soda, and it has somebody on the back with a lance, and they go from one light to another and they point this thing at it and they shoot powder, this soda powder, at the actual lens of the light, and they get rid of all the rubber that is on those lights.
From when the last plane takes off at night to when the first plane takes off in the morning, there's a small window of time.
Our runways need to close, so we need to wait till the last plane departs, and then after the last plane departs, that's when our teams can come on. So if you wanted to clean every single light on the runway, you can't really do it all in one night because there's that many of them. So for the lights themselves, we remove it at least twice per week. This is something that people don't ever really think about, but there's a whole team of people whose responsibility it is to make sure that these runways are clear. And actually people benefit from this job all the time because the only way that they're able to go on holiday and enjoy the world is by using these strips of tarmac called the runways.
The Tokyo metro system is famous for being one of the cleanest subway systems in the world. It transports an average of about 6 million people daily, and maintaining that reputation takes both an extensive amount of operational organisation and a ton of manpower. This is Takayuki, a cleaning supervisor at the rail yard in Ayase. He's worked for Tokyo Metro for almost 41 years, and it's his job to make sure the trains are cleaned thoroughly.
ほぼ千代田線の車しか入ってきませんので、ほぼ1日外で作業するようになります。もっと暑い日はこの間は40度以上になります。
The cleaning staff's approach is straightforward, but uncompromising. Whatever Tokyo Metro's millions of daily passengers touch must be cleaned. Today, they're cleaning the train cars at the Ayase rail yard, which they do every 15 days. The cleaners take careful measures to ensure each nook and cranny is cleaned. Then, we'll head to the Ginzai-chome station, located in one of the busiest shopping areas in Tokyo, Japan, where they clean the station top to bottom. There are 41 trains on the Tokyo Metro Chiyoda line. The team cleans 3 to 4 trains a day. Once a train comes into the rail yard, cleaners start by picking up any trash they see. It takes 4 workers to clean the exterior. It's all done by hand, and cleaners start by hosing it down with water and then using brushes to scrub it with soap.
自動車の汚れをイメージしていただければわかるんですけれども、 当然ホコリがつくのと、あと前面については光に虫が寄ってきますので虫が付着する。であとは、鳥の糞ですね。これが車体についているのが、多いですね。はい。そうですね。最近ちょっと多いですね。はい。ちょっとどこでついてるのかちょっとまだ原因はわからないんですけれども、このような汚れが、あります。
If the stain does not come off with a brush and soap, then they use a pad to scrub it off. Next, they rinse off all the soap. Meanwhile, other staffers clean the interior. It takes 10 workers, and they start at the top of the car and work their way down to the bottom.
一番大きなところはやっぱりお客様が、手に触れるところですね。つり革ですとか手すりですとか、あとそれと、お客様が直接車内に入った時に、目につくるところですね。床ですとか、あとは車内の内板ですとか窓ですね。お客様の目に、よくつくところが入念に清掃しております。
The first step is to clean the area where advertisements are placed. Then they clean the luggage racks and then the wall area. They use rags and dusters to clean each part.
はい、シートの清掃がありますので、シートの清掃については家庭にありますこのほうきを使って、このように汚れをほこりを落としていきます。
Cleaners then tackle the floors and start by mopping. They also use sticks to clean crevices near the entrance of each door. Twice a year, they wax the floors of each train car. They remove all the old wax with a polisher and then they let it dry. Once it's dry, they apply 2 coats of wax. It takes about an hour and a half from the time the wax is removed to the time the new wax dries.
やはり床は汚れますので、その清掃するのが目的と、やっぱりワックスをかけると見た目もきれいになりますので、その辺でやっぱりワックス作業っていうのは不可欠だと思っておりますので。
Altogether, it takes workers a little over an hour to clean the trains, inside and out. Once the cleaning is complete, Takayuki begins his inspection.
工具の置き忘れだとか、拭き残しですとか、ゴミの取り忘れがないので、いい状態だと思います。15日過ぎるとやっぱり車内の方も汚れっていうのが出てきますね。綺麗になってますね。はい。やっぱり私も思うんですけれども、特にメトロの車両清掃については、やはり、日本国内でももうとてもトップクラスだと思います。やっぱりそれだけ、清掃の人数もかけてますし、お金の費用の方もかけておりますので、やっぱり車内についてもやっぱりそれなりにきれいな状態を維持できていると、思ってますので。
Once Takayuki approves the cleaning, the trains return to service, ready to transport millions of passengers all over again. Inside the Ginzai Chome station, Chikako and Kenji work to clean the station daily.
この辺は、東京で有数の銀座という繁華街を持っていまして、その近所にある駅でございます。そうですね、この辺はやはり銀座の駅が近くにありまして、乗り換えの駅にもなっておりますので、お客様の、流通はかなり多くあります。
Kazuhiro has been working for Tokyo Metro since he was 18. He got his train license at 20 and drove trains until he was 57. He leads the team responsible for the cleaning and security for this station and a few others. There are 9 Tokyo Metro train lines and 180 stations that provide service to the Greater Tokyo area.
メトロセービスとは東京メトロの関連会社で駅の清掃並びに警備を担当しております。有楽町線の銀座一丁目駅と新富町駅、それと銀座線の銀座駅、日比谷線の銀座駅、万能線の銀座駅を担当しております。
The escalator handrails are a high-touch surface within the station, and Chikako takes extra care to wipe the belt with wet washcloths. She rides the escalators up and down until they are all clean.
エスカレーター注意するときはなるべくお客様の中に混じって掃除しないとか、インレットに足をつけたり物を落としたりしてエスカレーターを止めないようにします。気をつけてます。エスカレーターの長さにもよるんですけども、短いところでしたら10分以内では済むと思います。
Chicago is also responsible for the dirtiest job of the day, cleaning the 2 restrooms in the Ginzai-Chome station. The main cleanings happen once a day. She has been doing this work for the past 10 years.
きれいになったところを褒めていただいたりするので、やっぱしやりがいはあります。最初はそう思わなかったんですけども、やっぱしやってるうちにありがとうございますとか、きれいですねとかって言っていただくと、いいもん、掃除もいいもんだなって思ったりします。
The first thing Chikako does is check for any large pieces of trash. If there are none, she sets up a fan and leaves it on throughout the cleaning process. Efficiency is one of the key parts of her job, and the fan allows the bathroom to dry quickly so as not to disrupt any customers who may need to use it.
これはオゾン機って言いまして、匂いを取ったり、尿石を取ったりします。常に使うようにしてます。どうしても匂いが出てきてしまうので、これを使いますね。今日はとても綺麗でした。なんかいつもと違いますね。
Chikako sticks the ozone machine hose down the toilet and turns it on. Then she scrubs each toilet by hand to make sure it's clean for the next customer. She also cleans the walls. It's important that she's using the right tools for each space so as not to cross-contaminate areas. She uses a red dust cloth to clean areas from the knees down, which is called the contamination zone, and a green one for clean zones, which are areas above the knees, such as mirrors and sinks.
それを掃除してきれいにするって、それでお客さんが喜んでくれればそれでいいと思ってやってます。
ここ3年ほどコロナがありまして、清掃の人員が少なくなってしまった時には、やはり匂いですとか汚れがかなり強く出てまして、お客様からもご意見が出ておりました。駅のトイレを利用したお客様がやはりきれいで、使いやすいと思うと、結局リピーターになっていただけるのかなと思いまして、それがメトロの中でお客様の需要が増えるというようなことになると思いますので、きれいなトイレを目指しております。
Chikako is also responsible for cleaning the barrier between the platform and the train doors. The top part is cleaned daily, while the lower part is cleaned once a week. The staff makes sure the station platforms and walkways are clean for customers. They do cleanings with brooms every day, but they also use a machine to clean the floors twice a month. The machine works by sprinkling water onto the floor, scrubbing with a brush, and then collecting the dirty water with a squeegee. This way, there is no water left behind and no slippery floors.
やった後とやってる後ではやっぱり違いますね。見てて分かるぐらい、遠くから見てるのははっきり分かりましたね。
Kenji also goes around daily with a shoulder vacuum and manually vacuums up any trash and dust he comes across, especially in hard-to-reach areas.
バグを見つけましたら、このケレンという道具でそこにガムを下から取るような感じで取ります。人がやっぱりいない朝ラッシュ、夕ラッシュを避けて閑散時ですね、メインにある程度人目や時間帯いない時間帯を避けながらやるっていうのが一番になると思います。
Japan has a long history with cleaning and cleanliness that persists today.
清掃の格好をしておりますので、電車のそばにいますとお客様が乗り降りした時にぶつかったりすると、お客様からも清掃の格好の人とぶつかると嫌な思いをするというようなことがありますので、電車から離れて人とぶつからないように壁側に立つように基本しております。この会社はですね、結構、年配の方が多いんですね。なので自分とも同じ年代の方と一緒に 駅の清掃をしてですね、それをお客様からお褒めをいただいたりすると、すごくやりがいを感じるところでございます。東京メトロのグループ理念で東京を走らせる力というのがありまして、最終的には快適に利用していただくためにきれいにしているというところでございます。
Now we head off to sea and climb aboard one of the world's largest cruise ships, Royal Caribbean's Symphony of the Seas, to watch how workers deal with millions of pounds of water, food, and dry waste every year.
This cruise ship is basically a floating city, and just like in a normal city, all its residents produce a lot of trash. It can't be recycled or reused on board, goes to what's known as a waste-to-energy facility. Now, we didn't get to see it for ourselves, but Royal Caribbean said heat or gas from the waste is collected and converted to energy.
That's definitely within their expenses as well.
And after 1 week at sea, the recycling gets cleared out, incoming provisions are brought on board, and the crew prepares the ship to start the process all over again.
Every year, tens of thousands of people attend Burning Man in Nevada's Black Rock Desert, and many of them rent cars, RVs, and trucks to attend the festival. But Burning Man can get messy, and the desert's playa dust that collects on vehicles is high in alkaline, which can corrode a car's metal and cause long-term damage if not thoroughly cleaned. Car rental providers in the area, like Enterprise Rent-A-Car, brace for Burning Man each year. In a typical year, detailers expect to find rental cars returned coated in layers of dry desert sand. But this year's extreme weather left vehicles in even worse condition than usual, which meant that detailers like Miguel and his team had their work cut out for them.
These cars are really, really bad. They are covered with sand everywhere, sand everywhere. The interior, the outside, the engine. This year it rained. So this is a different kind of sand now, so it's getting a little bit harder than usual.
Miguel and his team must pay close attention to the details when cleaning the mud-battered rental returns. Whether the weather is extreme or not, any dust or debris that settles into the crevices of a vehicle has the potential to discolor or damage a car if the cleaning process is not done properly. Today, Miguel and his team are focused on detailing a white Jeep Gladiator from start to finish. And if they do a thorough job, the Jeep will look brand new for its next group of renters. The team begins by assessing the scale of the job at hand, starting with the car's exterior. All of the rental returns first go through the automatic car wash in Enterprise's cleaning bays. But if a vehicle is returned significantly muddier than most, it might also need an initial pressure wash to loosen the mud and any other debris. After passing through the automatic wash the first time, the muddiest Burning Man cars might need a bit more elbow grease. For this, Miguel uses a brush with a long handle to loosen any remaining dirt. After detailing by hand with the scrub brush, Miguel does another round of pressure washing, then decides if the Jeep needs an extra run through the automatic wash.
So right now we just run the car to the car wash. It looks okay. We just gotta wait and see how it looks after it dries. But next we're gonna do the inside. We're gonna vacuum and do the panels and windows.
But before they can start cleaning the interior, Miguel needs to check under the hood to inspect the car's engine, which may also have been coated in fine alkaline sand from the Black Rock Desert, often referred to as playa dust. This stubborn sand is made up of remnants from the prehistoric lakebed that predated the Black Rock Desert. The dust itself is extremely fine, which means it can settle into a vehicle's smallest grooves and crevices, inside and out. The dust's high alkaline pH is also corrosive and can damage upholstery, plastics, and even electronics. Burning Man organisers are well aware of the playa dust's potential risk to vehicles, as many festival goers this year learned firsthand. The official Burning Man website suggests festival goers wash their cars immediately upon returning home before the alkaline dust has a chance to damage their vehicles. It recommends using an air compressor to blow the dust off the engine. In extremely dirty cases, pressure washing may be the most effective method of deep cleaning, but this requires a level of equipment and expertise that's best left to trained professionals like Miguel and his crew. When they're ready to clean the interiors, Miguel removes the Jeep's floor mats. He scrubs a detergent deep into the mat's fibres and uses the pressure washer to rinse off the suds. Finally, he runs an extractor over the floor mats to remove excess moisture. Next, the team gets to work cleaning every interior surface. This phase includes deep cleaning the upholstery and interior doors and detailing the dashboard, center console, gearbox, and steering wheel. They dry vacuum loose plier sand before applying cleaning solutions, deodorizers, and disinfectants.
So right now, this is with the thing that we use for the interior. It's a multi-purpose solution that we use. We're gonna use it on the seats, hopefully help us with all the stains and the sand and the dirt.
They use small handheld dust brushes to loosen ground-in dirt and microfiber cloths to wipe down the hard plastic surfaces until they're spotless and dry.
This sand is different because it's kind of like chalk. It sticks on the panels and the car and the tires. So it's a different kind of sand. That's why we gotta use these special chemicals and pressure washer.
The last step of the detailing process is drying the floors and seats of the Jeep. Then the Jeep is nearly restored to its pre-festival state and is ready for any finishing touches before its big reveal.
We just finished the interior. We did the carpets, the seats, and the plastics. Right now we're gonna do pressure washing one more time. There's still some sand, there's dirt under the tires. So we finally finished with the Burning Man car. So if you can follow me, I'll show you how it looks now. So as you can see, we clean all the mud, all the sand, all the dirt on the tires. We basically shampoo the carpet, the seats, and also the driver. We also clean the grill, the windshield. We got all the bugs. This car, as you can see, looks as good as new. It took us a couple hours. It's finally done. I don't think anybody's gonna notice that he went to Burning Man. That's my opinion. I hope the customer agrees with me.